This game gives its players two options. Neither of them is prosperous, but one is more devastating than the other. One girl gets cursed by its choices and must now painstakingly play to the end. We see a mother arguing with her son. A man peeks at them doing that from his room. He then closes the door and sits at his computer. It displays a written adventure game to him. Then it gives him an option and chooses for him. Afterward, he looks at a bottle and it has "behind you" written on it. So the man looks behind, but nothing is there. When he looks at the bottle again, it states that it fooled him. Then the game asks him if he wants the lights on or off. He types off and his lights go out. He is amazed by this and then music turns on. The next message asks him to choose a male's tongue or a female's ears. Then the message "choose or die" appears. Both messages keep repeating on the screen, causing the man to grab his head and scream. He then comes out to his family and sees his wife holding a knife and his son is injured. The computer then displays the statement his tongue was chosen, and level 1 is completed. Then it states to continue the game tomorrow. During the opening credits, the game continues getting played. The player chooses to copy, and after the game gets distributed, a message tells the man that his family is momentarily safe. We then see 3 months later, cleaning personnel gets paid for their work. One of them rides her bike through a neighborhood. When she enters an apartment, we see a guy designing a character on his computer. The girl, Kayla, scares him from behind. Then she looks at his character design and slightly criticizes it. The guy, Isaac, tells her she should program with him. Then she finds a cassette in his room and sees that it comes with big prize money. Isaac mentions that he read about a guy who completed a certain game after 34 years and found a bank account number in a treasure chest. After that, Kayla calls the number attached to the cassette she found and Robert England talks on the message. Upon hearing Robert's name, Isaac acts excited. After the call, though, Kayla asks him who that is and Isaac somewhat taunts her for her ignorance. Before she leaves, Kayla tells the boy where to meet her. The next scene has her coming home. She sees her mother lying depressed on the couch and comes to her. Kayla then says not to let Lance in there again. Her mother tells her that rats are in the walls now and Kayla responds that she'll set another trap soon. After that, she looks at a circuit board in her room and does some soldering. Then she leaves and uses her bike to get to her cleaning job. After she cleans, the girl sits in a restaurant at 2 a.m. She installs the game, Cursor, that she found in Isaac's place. Then a waitress comes to her and says she can't sit there for too long without ordering something. When the game installs, it tells Kayla that she entered level 1. The first question it asks is if she will choose coffee or cake. She then looks at the menu to her left and it is distorted to only show her those two options. It asks her again and Kayla chooses coffee. Instantly after that, the waitress appears nearby and starts pouring Kayla her coffee. She then looks at the menu again and it shows a normal menu with many choices. Then the waitress says something and her words appear on Kayla's screen. The girl asks how she did that and the waitress doesn't understand what she means. When the game throws its next question at her, Kayla gets scared and closes her laptop. She then appears in a misty environment where an obscure figure tells her she has to choose. It then tells her to choose or die. Kayla is forced to reopen her laptop out of fear and the figure's words appear on the screen. The next question asks her whether she wants a break or not. Since she wants one, Kayla chooses it. And that prompts the waitress to drop a glass and break it. She then repeats this process. The game asks Kayla if she wants to keep it going or clean up. When Kayla chooses to clean up, the waitress gets on the floor and starts chewing on the glass. Kayla yells for her to stop, but the lady says she cannot. This causes Kayla to stand and attempt to help her, but the sleeping man there gets up and screeches at her. However, she moves him out of the way and comes to the waitress. She tries to help her then, but the lady keeps chewing on the glass. We then see that level 1 has been completed by her. Kayla then awakens in her bed. She takes the cassette and breaks it. Then she opens her door and sees a cop there talking to her mother. He tells her about how someone ended their life, and the mother tells him how she lost her son. When he leaves, Kayla comes to her mother and they talk for a while. Her mother tells her this used to be a good neighborhood. Then she leaves the flat and a man named Lance talks to her there. She tells him to stay away from her mother and comes at him. He then crumples a mail directed to Kayla and says that no one there amounts to anything. Then Kayla leaves and appears at Isaac's place. She explains the game to him, but he has a hard time believing that it did what she says. She then asks him where it came from and he does not know. Following that, we see Kayla at her job. Her mother calls her and tells her the rats are getting out. Kayla then hears them squealing loudly over the phone and the call ends. The lights in the building then start changing and Kayla observes a monitor in the distance, which she runs to. She unravels its covering and notices it displays level 2 of the game. The theme this time is her mother being stuck with rats in her flat. Kayla gets the choice of her going either to the living room or the bedroom. She chooses the living room, but a message tells her there's no meat there. The next choice becomes the bathroom or the bedroom. Kayla chooses the bathroom and sees how the rat runs after her mother. When her mom runs back and closes the door, the next option for Kayla is to charge or chew. She chooses to chew and observes the rat breaking through the door. Her mother runs to the window and the rat follows her. She then jumps and lands on the ground, which finishes level 2. After that, Kayla becomes furious and breaks the monitor. Her boss is there to see it and fires her for that. The next scene has Kayla sitting in a hospital next to her mom. Her mother then awakens and asks where Ricky is. Then Kayla enters her apartment and sees the mess there. As she walks, she remembers the messages from the game. Then she walks toward the door that the rat chewed into with a bottle in her hands. She enters the room and picks up a stuffed toy. When she does, she hears the word meat. Right after that, Lance appears behind her and tells her he has to report the mess to the landlord. Then he asks her how much she's worth and Kayla threatens him with the bottle. When he leaves, we see the word meat on the wall. After that, Kayla bangs on Isaac's door and he comes out. She tells him he has to believe her and he says he does. Inside, Kayla shows him pictures of her ruined flat. She then tells him that the game very likely starts at 2 a.m. Isaac states he could not find any information about the game. Then he talks about its code to her and she suggests that they separate the sound from the game. A while later, he tells her about the game he wants to make, where cheating will come at a price. Then 2 a.m. comes and the game turns on. His monitor shows him the sound file of the game. Then they see there is no cursor in the game code. Afterward, level 3 is on display. As Isaac reads it, he finds his name there. Then he gets further surprised as it keeps putting words on the screen as he says them. The words choose or die then appear in great numbers and Kayla suffers from it. Then the screen shows them an arrow and Isaac sees a red and blue door where it points to. He questions the possibility of what is happening and then the choice of blue or red gets presented. He tells Kayla to never choose red. Then he comes near the blue room and hears a voice whisper die. When Kayla comes to the red room, nothing of that sort happens. It then opens and they enter it. The door closes behind them. In there, Kayla sees and hears someone she believes to be Ricky, her deceased brother. She calls out to him and runs after him. As they keep making their way through the redness, they soon enter a swimming pool area. Kayla states that is where her brother drowned. When she goes out to him, Isaac utters that she should not let the game play her. But she goes into the pool anyway and he follows her. Down there, they walk through a misty environment. Kayla sees the stuffed toy there and comes to it. Then someone jumps on Isaac and starts attacking him. After that, Kayla sees Isaac and Ricky lying together and the choice appears to save one of them. She chooses to save Isaac and starts dragging him away. But then Ricky jumps on her. She manages to get him off her and then put an end to him. Following that, he disappears and Kayla and Isaac appear back at his place. The screen shows them that level 3 is complete. Later, Isaac tells her that it wasn't her brother back there. She tells him that is why she saved Isaac. Then she tells him the story of how Ricky lost his life. Afterward, Isaac tells her about a game where phone hacking was used. Kayla proposes that they use the same hack on the number of their game. When they do, it reveals to them the address to the place where the game came from. They decide to go there before the next game starts for them. We then see them right outside in video game fashion. And when they arrive at the place, they climb the fence and Kayla slams into a door so they could enter the building. The duo traverses the abandoned interior and hears a phone ringing from a distance. The message then takes the call and Robert Englund presents himself once more. They walk to where the voice is coming from. When they get to the machine where his voice is being emitted from, they turn it off. Then Isaac notices power cables and they follow them. After that, they enter another room. Kayla states that that is where the game was made. Soon enough, Isaac finds a tape that has Cursor Beta 1 written on it. They start watching it and see how a man there says they discovered a curse but were unable to identify its origin. He adds that its symbols seem to affect reality. And then he states that the more the cursed suffer, the more the one who curses benefits. This causes Kayla to speculate that someone is playing the game on her. The man on video then says he is the cursor and will reap the rewards. He has another person testing the game in a tiny room. He tells the tester to choose an option and he chooses to devour his arm over the computer. After that, the cursor does something to his arm and the tester begins to devour his against his will. This causes the cursor's arm to regenerate. He then rejoices. Kayla looks at the code again and locates a symbol that she says is the command prompt. Then she states it's what was missing in their code. When Isaac starts taking the tape out, the game starts for them. This time, it's the man from the video that dictates what they should do. He tells them it's level 4 in 1984. He adds that if they're going to cheat, then it will cost them. But Isaac has had enough and unplugs the power cable. This causes him to enter into a digital format where he starts glitching. The cursor then asks Kayla if she wants to rewind or fast forward. She chooses the second option and watches how a tremendous amount of film starts to exit Isaac's mouth. The cursor gives her the option again and now she chooses to rewind. She watches how the film re-enters her friend and she puts it on fast forward again, not knowing how to win. After a while, it stops and Isaac falls. The cursor states that level 4 is now complete. Following that brutality, Kayla comes to Isaac and takes the rest of the film out. He shortly after loses his life and the monitor tells her to beat the boss. It gives her the coordinates to where she must go and she uses them. When she arrives at the place, she gets a call from her mother. But when she answers it, Lance is on the other line. He tells her that when her mom gets better, she will come home with him. Kayla then walks into the woods and finds a house there. She walks into it and we see a family sitting at the table. When the boy sees her, he starts acting strangely. The man, however, just asks Kayla who she is. She answers that she's the player and he tells her to sit down. She then tells him that the game sent her this way. We then observe the boy has fake eye and mouth patches on him. The father speaks for a little about the game and then tells her he made copies of it so his family would be safe. But Kayla responds by saying her friend lost his life and insults the father. The wife then tries to injure him, but he stops her from doing it. He then tells Kayla that she might be what the game was looking for. After that, Kayla looks at her phone and it shows her the final level boss battle. The man is surprised that he's the boss and she's the hero. He gets angry and says it's unfair. Then Kayla shows him her phone, which lets her decide between him and her. Kayla grabs the knife and the father takes the plate. When they attack each other, they receive the opposite damage. They fight like this for a short while until the man's son shoots Kayla, giving the damage to his dad. The man tells him to shoot him instead, and when the boy does, Kayla gets the gunshot and flies outside. Then the wife takes the gun away and points it at Kayla. She shoots her once, but her husband is not mortally wounded. He then takes the gun away from her and points it at his head. But when he tries to fire it, the gun is out of ammo. What happens then is the son tries to attack him with a knife, yet he takes it away and applies the blade to himself. Kayla falls into the water while holding a heavy object. This prevents her from floating up and causes the father to start drowning. He then falls over and we see a game over screen for him. Later, Kayla stands with the man's wife and she tells her that Kayla saved her life. The girl then checks her phone and it informs her that she completed it. Then we travel into the device and the symbols get described. What follows is Kayla playing the game as a cursor. She messages Lance with the option to either pay $20 or not pay them. He chooses to pay and then she asks if she can be in charge. He agrees to that as well and then Kayla presses a red button on her new keyboard. We then observe how Lance walks against his will into a sink full of syringes. After he's done that, Kayla recovers from her injuries. The final scene has her receiving a call from a man. He tells her that she suffered and he prospered, yet she managed to beat his game. Kayla recognizes that it's the original cursor. When he asks her who will suffer next, Kayla says that it's only people who deserve it.